Hello students, how are you? I hope this video finds you well. Welcome to session number 3. Today we're going to be talking about self-care, a very important topic. I would say a crucial topic, not only for the general population, but especially for those of us who work in the health industry, the health services, and you as a psychology major that some of you want to become psychologists, counselors, or working in different settings with humans, I think it's very important. Self-care, I would say it in this way, is the foundations of all the work that you're going to do, okay? If you don't have an appropriate self-care, you will not be able to help and work with people that they are suffering. You cannot give what you don't have. And to offer health, to offer mental health, to offer the possibility to overcome difficulties and suffering, you first need to do so. And today we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about how can you take care of yourself appropriately, okay? But before going that and before sharing with you the presentation that I have, I want to read you a little bit from the book that you are reading already. I hope that you are liking it. This is a story that you're going to find it in page 74. As you can see, I enjoy this book so much that I have post-its, I have highlighted sections, notes on it. And this is one of the most dramatic stories that I remember from this book. It says the following. I once had a dramatic demonstration of the close link between the loss of faith in the future and this dangerous giving up. F, my senior block warden, a fairly well-known composer and librettist, confided in me one day, I would like to tell you something, doctor. I have had a strange dream. A voice told me that I could wish for something, that I should only say what I want to know. And all my questions will be answered. What do you think I asked? That I would like to know when the war will be over for me. You know what I mean, doctor, for me. I want to know when our camp will be liberated and our suffering come to an end. And when did you have this dream? I asked. In February 1945, he answered. It was then the beginning of March. What did your dream voice answer? Furtively, he whispered to me, March 30th. When F told me about his dream, he was still full of hope and convinced that the voice of his dream will be right. But as the promised day drew nearer, the war news which reached our camp made it appear very unlikely that we will be free on the promised date. On March 29th, F suddenly became ill and ran a high temperature. On March 30th, the day his prophecy had told him that the war and suffering will be over for him, he became delirious and lost consciousness. On March 31st, he was dead. To all outward appearances, he had died of typhus. Those who know how close the connection is between the state of mind of a man, his courage and hope, or lack of them, and the state of immunity of his body will understand the sudden loss of hope and courage can have a deadly effect. The ultimate cause of my friend's death was that the expected liberation did not come, and he was severely disappointed. This suddenly lowered his body's resistance against the latent typhus infection, sorry for that. His faith in the future and his will to live had become paralyzed, and his body fell victim to illness. And thus the voice of his dream was right after all. Then in the next page, Viktor Frankl, he quotes Nietzsche, which was also an existentialist philosopher, very controversial philosopher, especially among Christians, because he's the one who wrote the book, The Antichrist, and he also said that God was there. So many Christians have an antagonic relationship with Nietzsche, and I understand why. He was not a Christian guy. But when he said about the death of God, what he was saying is Europeans will abandon Christianity. And once that they abandon Christianity, the result is going to be chaos. He said that before the World War I and the World War II, of course. And as you can see, he was a kind of a prophet. And we still see the effects of that. So even though he was not a Christian, he was very much anti-Christian. He was also saying, without Christianity, what is left is chaos, nihilism. And what Viktor Frankl lived in that work camp, the Nazi era, is just one of the multiple examples that we have now since Europe abandoned Christianity, and now we are following them also here in United States and in pretty much all Western societies. Now, the consequences of that are not going to be minor, are going to be important as well. I think that we still have many things to see about the consequences of our society moving to this secularist perspective of society and human beings. Anyway, but he quotes Nietzsche there, and he says, "He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how." I'm going to repeat that. He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how. So what Viktor Frankl is telling us is wisdom not only for those who were in the Nazi camp as his friend who died because he didn't see his dream realized, but it's wisdom for all of us. We live in times of fragmentation. Even though we are connected all the time through social media and computers and cellular phone, people are living more and more isolated. We also live in times of abundancy, guys. I know this is not very popular whenever I say it, but this is the best time in all human history to be alive. Never before humans were able to live for so long time. Never before humans had so much science, technology, medical resources, educational resources. Never before we had the amount of poor people that we have today, because it's in the lowest point of all human history. Now, does that mean that it's perfect? Of course not. But don't believe in utopia, guys. Don't believe in those who try to tell you that life can be perfect on earth. That's not a Christian perspective. The Christian perspective, creation, fall, new creation, and redemption, is telling us that because sin, because the fall, life in earth will never be perfect. However, we are in the best time in human history. But even though we also have the highest numbers of people with depression, anxiety, loneliness, and now we have a more fragmented society, and the social media effect, especially what Twitter has done to our society, is having a very negative impact. And if we don't change the course of that, Well, maybe Nietzsche was right. Chaos is what will happen after we abandon Christianity, right? And that's what was happening to this guy as well, the guy of the story. He had a dream that he will be liberated, and that dream didn't become true. And he lost all his life motive, his will, his hope, his desire. So I have a question for you guys. Do you have a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow? Do you have a why to live that can help you to navigate in difficult times in life? There's an American tendency to think on the positive side of things and to think that things will be okay. However, reality is different. We all are going to experience pain, suffering sooner or later. We all are going to experience death of a loved one, our own death, illness, and so on. The question is, how are you going to overcome that if you don't have a why to live? Okay? So I hope that you are working on that and also that you are enjoying this book. All right, I'm going to stop that because it's just the introduction and it's taking me a lot of time. Okay, so let me share with you my screen so you can see the presentation that I have prepared for you guys. And we can talk about self-care, all right? So here you have session 3, physical self-care. And let me increase this a little bit. Give me a second, please. And the topics that we're going to be covering today are the following. The assignment laid out. This is because I have noticed that some of you are having problems with your layout in your assignments. Okay, so I'm going to do that very fast. Number 2, I want to share with you a reflection on Stephen Hayes on theories, about theories, because we just finished the 3 theories that we cover in this class, which are existentialism, humanistic psychology, and positive psychology. Then we're going to talk about what is self-care and the 3 elements that can help us to develop a good self-care, which are eating, physical activity, and sleep. Okay? All right, so let's go. And then we're going to talk about your homework for this week. So about the assignments layout. So what I have seen is that some of you are submitting your papers and you are not following the instructions on the layout of your papers, okay? So that's why I want to remind you, you have all this information in your syllabus. If you haven't watched if you haven't take a look on your syllabus, if you haven't read your syllabus, please go and do so. Every paper needs to include 1 cover page, which that has to include your name, Trinity's name, my name, the name of the class, and the title of your paper, okay? Then 1 abstract and keyword page. The abstract is no more than 250 words, and it's like a summary of your paper. And the keywords are 4 keywords, the most important words that you are using in your paper that can help us to see what is all this about. Then 2 pages content, okay? Now for the final paper is 4 pages content, okay? Be careful with that. And then 1 page with references. And all this should be written in a double space, font Times New Roman, size 12, and APA style is required. If you are still not familiarized with the APA style, I strongly suggest you to go to the link that I'm sharing here with you. Okay, in this link, you will have access to a way that they're going to explain you step by step the APA style, okay? All right, having said that, you need to remember also that there's a rubric for your papers, and that in that rubric, there are the following criteria: structure, which is what I just said to you. Mechanics, which are grammar, spellings, the time used, Roman size, writing style, content, and the APA formatting. Now, if you don't have that, you will not have a full grade in your paper, okay? Points are gonna be taken from your paper. So be careful. You have this rubric as well in your syllabus. So again, go to your syllabus and take a look at that, all right? So having said that, let's go to the next topic, Stephen Hayes on theories. Now, who's this guy? Who's Stephen Hayes? Well, he's a great psychologist. He's the author, founder of Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, the process and practice of mindful change. So it's a third wave CBT therapy. Very interesting. I would suggest you buy the book, read the book. You're going to like it. He's also a professor in Stanford, if I remember well. And he's a very well-respected, very well-known psychologist. And he had this interview that I'm including here to you guys. You can go, you can click there, you can watch the interview here. Okay, we are not going to watch the interview, but here you can watch the interview. And in the interview, he said something about theories. He said something like, all theories are wrong. It's just a matter of time for us to know why, where, and how is that they are wrong. And I think that it's a very important quote to have in mind, guys. Science is not dogmatic. Science is not about knowing the ultimate truth. Science is a method that use tools to have a better understanding of reality, of truth, a better understanding of the phenomena. And to do that, science builds theories, or scientists build theories that can provide explanations to the phenomena that they are studying. But by definition, science is something that is always advancing. We are building blocks of knowledge and understanding. Therefore, theories, they offer a possible solution, a possible explanation of the phenomena, but we cannot think that they are completely 100% sure or 100% right, because otherwise there will be no science, there will be no room to advance, okay? With that in mind, existentialism, humanistic psychology, and positive psychology, they are just theories. And therefore, they are wrong. They are also right, partially right. There are things that they are right, things that they are not right. And with that in mind, you want to be careful when you are studying any theory to don't be dogmatic with that theory, to always have a critical thinking with that theory, okay? All right, so having said that, today we are gonna talk about self-care. Just give me a second, guys, because someone is calling me and they don't stop the call. Give me a second. I'm gonna pause this. I apologize. There was someone calling and all right, so we are back to the presentation. So as I said to you, we're gonna talk about self-care. And to do that, we're gonna have a small introduction on self-care, and then we're gonna talk about eating, workout, and sleep. And when we talk about those three topics, we're gonna watch videos, and then we're gonna talk about those videos, okay? All right, so let's go with self-care. Have you heard the quote, mens sana in corpore sano? Okay, this is a Latin word, okay? Mens sana in corpore sano. It's a Latin word that means a sound mind in a sound body. Now, where this quote comes from? Well, it comes from how do you pronounce this? Satire. Satire? Yeah, I think so. Satire 10 of the Roman poet Juvenal. This is a very old poem or satire written by Juvenal. And in that satire, it's kind of long, but at the very end of the satire, you're going to find the following paragraph. It says, then you might pray for a sound mind in a healthy body, or a sound mind in a sound body, depending on the translation. Ask for a heart filled with courage, without fear of death, that regards long life as among the least of nature's gifts, that can endure any hardship, to which anger is unknown, that desires nothing and gives more credit to all the labors and cruel sufferings of Hercules than to all the love-making, all the feasting, and all the downy pillows of Sardanapalus. The prayer I offer you can grant yourself, without doubt, the one true path that leads to a tranquil life is that of virtue. So two things here. First, Juvenal is telling us mens sana in corpore sano, which means there's no distinction between one and the other. What happens to your body happens to your mind, and what happens to your mind happens to your body. Descartes was the one who started this splitting idea of mind and body as two different things, but that's not true. At least it's not true in the experience and the existence that we are having now, right now and right here in life. Your mind cannot be expressed without your body, and your body cannot live without your mind. Therefore, you need both to have the experience of life that you are having right now. And what is more, what is good for your mind is good for your body, and what is good for your body is good for your mind. So sometimes for our clients, and even for ourselves, can be difficult to control our mind, to control our emotions. And in those cases, the only option that we have is to control our body, is to control our physical activity. It's very interesting because most of my clients who have depression, they come to the meetings and I ask them, do you work out? And they say, no. Can you tell me about your sleeping patterns? Some of them sleep very little, 4 hours, 5 hours per night. Some others oversleep 10, 12, 13 hours every day. And then when I ask about their eating patterns, they all come with, I have a mess with my eating patterns as well. So the first thing that I say to them is, if you want to experience any benefit of these meetings, you need to start working in those 3 areas. You need to work in having a schedule on at what time are you going to sleep, at what time are you going to be awake, and how many hours are you going to sleep. We're going to talk about that in a moment. A schedule where you have physical activity and that you become mindful eater. That means that you know what you are eating, why are you eating, when are you eating. If you start with that, you're going to start feeling better. It's not going to be the cure, it's not going to be all, but you're going to start feeling better. There's actually a type of therapy that is called behavioral activation therapy and has proved to be as effective as the drug treatments for depression. And it's just what I just said to you, helping clients to have a schedule in their lives and also scheduling activities that are meaningful and that bring pleasure to their lives. And it's as effective as taking drug therapy. The difference is that there's no side effect, guys. Okay, see, that's why it's so important. Now, with that in mind, let's go to talk about now eating. Okay, eating has become a problem. It has always been a problem, I will say that. For most part of human history, the lack of food was the number one killer of humans, okay? Starvation was a huge problem in all human history until now. Oh, I apologize, guys. I just noticed that I didn't share with you my screen. Let me share the screen. What a mess. I apologize for that. That call, it distracted me a little bit. Okay, this was the slide where I was talking to you about self-care. I just realized that I was not sharing my screen with you because I was not able to see myself. And I was like, oh, why am I not seeing myself? Anyway, so this is the slide that I share with you with the quote, mens sana in corpore sano, a sound mind in a sound body. And this is the whole quote or the whole paragraph in the juvenile satire, number 10. Okay, you can go and look for it. It's very interesting satire, very old as well. And now we are here in the eating slide, okay? What I was telling you is that eating was a bigger problem, or has been the biggest problem for human survival in all human history until the beginning of 20th century with the outgoing or the ongoing industrial revolution, who also brought the food revolution, the food industry. So what happened is that little by little, the industrial revolution started moving to the food area, and they start processing food, and then we start having food factories and so on. And then in the 70s, 1970s, there was something that was called the Green Revolution. And this had a huge explosion on how to produce, process, and deliver food, okay? Which has been awesome in many ways, guys, because now starvation is not a problem, at least in most part of the world. Maybe 80% of the population has no starvation problems anymore. We still see that in countries and continents such as Africa. There are important places where people are still dying of starvation. But generally speaking, starvation is something that we know how to solve now, thanks to the food industry. But we also have a problem. We have places such as here in the United States that we have more food than what we can eat. And then we are throwing that food to the trash can, right? Some people say that it's up to 40% of the food in the restaurant industry that ended up in the trash cans. Now, we have places producing a lot of food, and we have places that they don't produce enough food, and we still have starvation, okay? But because most countries have been receiving the benefits of the food industry and the green revolution that I was telling you, now we have a new problem. You see, everything that we decide to do will have consequences, positive and negative. And one of those negative consequences of the food industry, food revolution, green revolution, has been obesity. We have never had as many obese and overweight people as we have now ever before. And with that comes new problems as well. Problems such as diabetes, problems such as cancer, depression, sexual functioning, and many other problems. They come along with obesity and overweight. And with that has also come a new industry telling us things about how should we eat and how should we not eat, okay? And because of that, we see diets everywhere. We see diets every week promising in these pop magazines telling us, right, the new diet that will give you the perfect body, the new diet for the summer body, the new diet for winter, for Christmas season, and so on. Now, let's face it. If diets really work, we all will be fit. There will be no overweight problems. But the reality is that diets don't work very well. So then what's the best diet for humans? How should we eat? Well, I have a video that I want you to watch. So you can make a pause right here, right now, and you can watch this video by yourself. I'm not going to watch it. I already watched it, okay? But in that way, I'm going to save space and time on this presentation, okay? I want you to watch it, and then I want you to comment on the YouTube comments your impression about this video. The author it's bringing information, evidence-based information based on the research that he and his lab are doing on what is best for humans, how humans should eat better. And it's very interesting. You will be surprised about the results. Now, I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to spoil the video. It's a TED Talk. It's a good TED Talk. You're going to like it. Please go and watch. I'm only going to say 3 things that he didn't mention in the video. And these are 3 recommendations, 3 suggestions that I want to share with you. Number 1, make family dinner a thing again. There's a lot of research showing that family dinner has many benefits, not only in the quality of the eating that we have, the amount of eating that we have, but has many benefits in our psychological well-being or physical well-being, and of course, in family cohesion. What we are seeing nowadays is that most people are eating in fast food places, restaurants, not eating good quality food, and eating by themselves. We were not created for that. We didn't evolve for that. We were created for community. We evolved for community, and we evolved for sharing the meal. So when we eat along with the family, when we share the food, when we are together, we are not only eating, we are making the bonds, the connections, the attachments stronger. We are learning from each other. We are feeling that we belong. We are sharing experiences. Now, for kids, it has a huge impact in their behavior. There's research showing, that's the case of the book that I already suggest to you, that it's called The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell. He says that research is showing that family dinners are correlated with better behavior, less violent behavior, less authority problems, better grades, and generally speaking, better social relationship in kids. Now, it's just because we eat together? No, it's because what happened when we eat together, okay? I really like how our Lord had the Last Supper, right? Because it reminds us that he was having meals with his apostles, with his friends, with his family, that he was using that time to share, to teach. And that's what we do when we eat together. So, but there's also benefits for the physical well-being, for the self-care. The way that we eat when we are together is different than the way that we eat when we are alone. When we are alone, we eat. We don't pay attention to the quality of the food. We try to feel the emptiness of our stomach. But when we share the meal, we pay more attention on what are we eating. Therefore, we can eat better, okay? Now, the other thing that this guy is not saying in his video has to do with water and sugar, okay? Now, again, I don't want to spoil the content of the video. You have to watch it. It's very good, very interesting. going to change your paradigms, the way that you understand dieting. Okay. But those two things are really important. Our body is made up to 65% of water. And many people don't drink enough water during the day. What they do is that they drink soda, they drink beverage that have a lot of sugar, okay? And had a lot of chemicals and a lot of things, but not just water. Your body, your metabolism is not going to work well with enough water. But the other thing is the sugar that I was telling you. Generally speaking, men can have around 35 grams of sugar per day. And women, if I remember well, is something between 29 or 30. Now, please do me a favor. Go and take a look on Google, the amount of sugar in a soda, in Coke, in whatever soda you like, Dr. Pepper, or whatever. You will see it's around 40 grams of sugar. Gatorade, same thing. Iced tea, same thing. Now, sugar has been correlated not only with obesity and with diabetes, but it's also correlated with overweight, cancer, and other important health problems. So 3 suggestions that I give you that are not in the video that you're going to watch, which, by the way, it doesn't have suggestions on dieting. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil. This is the 3rd time that I say the same. But the 3 suggestions that I give you is have more often meals with your family, with your friends. If you can do it every day, do it with no distraction, with no TV, with no cellular phone in the table. Use that time wisely to connect, to teach, to learn, and also to take good care of the quality of the food that you are eating. Number 2, increase the amount of water that you are having. And number 3, be careful with the amount of sugar that you are having, okay? All right, I'm gonna leave it like that. Go and watch the video and leave your comments in the YouTube section. Now let's go to this following topic, which is physical activity. Now, there's a lot of things about physical activity that we know. We know that physical activity can help us to be fit, to avoid overweight, to avoid obesity. But there are 2 things that are very important to say about this. Number 1, what is the effect of physical activity in your brain? How physical activity can help you to improve your mood, your depression levels, your anxiety levels? How physical activity can help you to learn better in college? How physical activity can help you to have a better memory, to avoid problems such as dementia, such as Alzheimer. Is that so powerful? Is it really that physical activity has those impacts in your brain, in your body? Well, again, watch this video by yourselves. It's an awesome video. Wendy Suzuki is a professor of neuroscience, and she's talking about the effects of physical activity in the brain. And I also would like to see your comments about this video in the YouTube, okay? Now, but we all know that physical activity is important. We all know that we need to work out more. But how? Why, if we know that we need to eat better? Why, if we know that we need to have a better physical activity, workout life, and so on, why is that we are not doing it? Well, because it's not easy. And it's not easy because the way that our brain works, the dopamine, the problem is the dopamine, okay? There are many things that we are doing that they are giving us instant gratification. instant doses of dopamine. When you engage in your cellular phone with one of the social meetings that you like, the social meetings, the social media, that you like, such as Facebook, Instagram, or whichever you would like, what happens is that you are having shots of dopamine. You are having instant gratification. Whenever you go to YouTube and you watch a silly video, you're having an instant gratification. When you go to Amazon Prime or Netflix and you start binge watching, you're having immediate gratification. Whenever you go to the BBC here and you buy some of those nice chocolate chip cookies that they have, you're having immediate gratification. When you engage in alcohol, immediate gratification. Dopamine gets activated. But there's a problem. Because it's immediate, the lifespan of that gratification is going to be short on one hand. And two, across the time, it's going to shorter. So the thing that you used to experience pleasure, now the effect is going to be smaller and smaller. And now what's going to happen is that you're going to increase the dosage of that. You're going to increase the amount of time that you spend in social media. You're going to increase the time that you watch Netflix. You're going to increase the junk food that you are eating, because you are looking for that rewarding experience that you had at the beginning of that. And because you are not having it, what's going to happen is that you're going to build an addiction. It's the cycle of addiction, okay? And with that comes pain. Because now your brain is not getting enough dopamine. It's asking you for more and more. And you're going to start experiencing withdrawal symptoms. We see that in people that they are in social media all the time, or people that they are in binge watching or binge eating. Because the process of pain and pleasure in the brain is regulated by the same neurological mechanism. All right? So it's very important to have that in mind. Now, what happened when we work out or when we change our diet habits and we start taking care of ourselves? It's not immediate gratification. It is not. It is very difficult to stand up and to start working out. It's very difficult to say, like, okay, now I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose all these pounds that I have. I'm going to lose these extra pounds. I'm going to lose all this fat that I have been accumulating across time. I'm going to work out. I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. I want to live long. And we try it. We go the first day. Maybe we are motivated. Maybe the second day, the third day. But motivation is not a good way to make this work. Now, you might know about the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, right? But generally speaking, when we talk about motivation, we talk about willpower, right? The idea that I'm going to force myself to do it. That might work for some people, especially in the short term. But we need to find a way to make them work in the long term as well. So there's a principle in psychology that we call the PERMA principle. And this is a principle that helps us to promote behaviors in people who they resist to develop those behaviors or that are difficult for them. Now, I want to tell you the most simple of the examples of the PERMA principle. It's when we have kids and we say to them, first your veggies and then your desserts, right? So we said to them, if you want the ice cream, you need to eat the veggies, the fish, and everything. Otherwise, you don't have your dessert. Now, the problem is that some parents, they say so, but then at the end, they ended up saying like, okay, Now you can have your ice cream, even though you didn't finish your veggies and your fish and all that, right? So the boy learns or the girl learns that, oh, I don't really need to do that to receive the reward. Then what happened is that those kids are going to start demanding more and more my way, not your way, okay? And they're going to become more defiant. And then parents are going to be like, I don't know why my kid eats so bad. I don't understand why. Well, because you are not using the PERMAC principle appropriately. You need to be serious with that. Now, if it's too difficult for your son, your daughter, what you can say or what you can do is serve little portions of food. And then you say to him or to her, look, it's not a lot. This is half of what you should be eating. Therefore, you're going to have half of the dessert that you want. So it's up to you. You want to have the whole thing, I need to serve you better. If you don't want to have the whole thing, this is what you can eat. And little by little, the kids are going to be like, okay, that was easy because it was not that much. I was able to eat those things that I don't like because I was thinking in the reward, and I received the reward pretty much immediately because that was very fast and easy. But now I have a problem. I am hungry. What am I going to do? I still want to eat more. So parents will need to say like, well, at dinner or the next meal time, you will have opportunity to eat appropriately. I hope that you learn your lesson. You need to eat well, to have your dessert, and to not feel hungry, right? Okay, so that's with kids. Now, how can we apply that principle with us? So by the way, the principle is you use a behavior that is reinforced to promote a behavior that is not reinforced, okay? Otherwise, you use something that the person likes to make the person do something that the person don't like. I want to share you an example of a doctor who visits me. He had diabetes in a severe stage of the diabetes. And his doctor, he was a doctor, but he was going with a doctor, which is a good thing to do, said to him, look, colleague, look, doctor, if you keep eating the way that you eat, if you continue with the stress that you have, and if you don't work out, you know what's going to happen. So yes, I know. You're going to amputate my leg, and I'm going to end up losing my sight. But I can't. I have tried everything, and I can't. So he goes with me, and he says, you're pretty much my last option here. You need to help me. And I thought, the PERMAC principle. So I asked him, do you like to watch TV? I love to watch TV. Every time that I come back from working, that's the way that I relax myself. I have some snacks, some beer, and I watch TV. And it was at the time that there was this TV show that was called 24 with Jack Bauer. I don't know if you remember that. And he really liked that show. And I said, all right, how many episodes do you watch? He says, it depends. During the week, it's 1 episode, 2 episodes. But during the weekend, I binge watch. I can watch 3, 4, 5 episodes of it. Well, okay, that's interesting. All right. Now, you know that you have to check your diet and to work out. Otherwise, you're going to lose your leg and you're going to lose your sight, right? Right. And who knows, maybe you lose your life, right? And you really like to watch TV, right? And you don't like to do exercise, working out. I don't like to do working out. That's fair. Okay. Do you have a walker? Do you have like those walk machines? I don't know how you call it, guys. Yes, I do have one, but it's just like an extension of my closet. I have all my clothes there. All right, you're going to put them in front of the TV. And what we're going to do is 10 minutes of walking equals 20 minutes of watching TV. 20 minutes of walking equals 40 minutes of watching TV. 30 minutes equals 1 hour. It's up to you. And you can do your 10 minutes while you are watching if you want. And he was like, how am I know that I'm not going to cheat and I'm going to end up doing the same thing? And I said, because we're going to include your wife on this. What do you think about that? And he was like, well, Mario, that's too much. I said, are you serious with your health or not? Because it's evident that you are a physician, you are a doctor, you have diabetes, and you cannot do this by yourself. It's not lack of knowledge. It's not lack of motivation. It's not lack of willpower. This is stronger than you, man. Now, we're going to tell your wife the deal, and she's going to check that you comply, that you align with this deal, at least for the first 2 months. And after those 2 months, we're going to ask her to make room, to make her check-ins more sporadically, that you're going to start doing it by yourself without her looking at you or her checking on if you are doing it or not. Why am I was saying this? Well, first, because as he was saying, if there's no one who do accountability on him, he's going to fail. But then why after 2 months, the wife will step back? Because there's no a clear number on this. But the more that you do something, the better for you and the more used to that. And not only that, remember what I was telling you about immediate gratification versus long-term gratification? Well, what happens when you work out and you eat appropriately is that you don't have immediate gratification. That's why it's so difficult, but you do have long-term gratification. You start looking yourself better, clothes look better on you, people start saying things about, oh, are you losing weight? You look very good. Your health, your energy levels, your attention, your sexual response, everything start improving. So you start correlating that and you start feeling good. You start experiencing long-term gratification. And the dopamine system that I was telling you is going to work differently. Now the dopamine system is you're going to be basically conditioned. You want dopamine, go and look for it, working out and having appropriate meals. So we did that. And I can tell you, it was awesome. He was not amputated. He didn't lose his sight. And he became a regular what's the word? A regular physical activity person. I don't know how to say that. Okay. So yeah, so that's the PERMAC principle. Now, Wendy Suzuki doesn't talk about the PERMAC principle, but she talks a lot about the benefits of working out in our brain and in our health in general. So you please go and watch that video too and leave your messages, your comments in the comment section. In this video, not in her video, okay? Well, you can leave in her video as well if you want, all right? Now, the last part is sleep. And this is a very interesting and fascinating topic. People are sleeping. Every time that I have my in-person classes, I ask my students, how many hours are you sleeping? And I would say 50% of them, they answer 4 hours. Somewhere between 30%, they answer between 4 and 6 hours. And only 10%, they say something between 6 and 8 hours, and only 10% they say 8 hours. Now, why is that 8 hours are so important for the sleep process? Well, generally speaking, we need to have in mind the architecture of sleeping, which means what happens when you are asleep? Well, there's a lot of brain activity when you are asleep. There's even more brain activity when you are asleep than when you are awake. What happened in that brain activity is very important for your health, both your physical and mental health. It's so important that without a good sleeping pattern, you're putting in risk your mental health, your physical health, and even your life. Bad sleeping patterns are correlated with heart attacks, with strokes, with dementia, with reduced life expectancy, with obesity, with cancer, with depression, and so on. So it's very important. When we are babies, we sleep and we grow up. When we are adults, we sleep and we rejuvenecemos, we rejuvenile, right? Like we become younger, in a way to say. Or cells, or neurons, or body cells, or hair cells, or cells, they have plasticity. And that plasticity is the process of fixing ourselves. And that is going to happen through eating, physical activity, and sleeping, okay? Now, I say to you that there's an architecture in the sleeping patterns that we need to have in mind. And a general overview of that is that we have 2 cycles of sleeping. The REM cycle and the no REM cycle. Now, it sounds like the grunge band of the 90s, which I love it. If you haven't heard REM, go and listen REM, but I'm sure that you have. It's a very popular, well, it was a very popular band. But this is in the sleeping, when we talk about REM in sleeping patterns, we are talking about rapid eye movement. And when it's no REM, it's no rapid eye movement, okay? Now, the rapid eye movement means that you are in a deep sleep. When you see someone that he or she is sleeping and they are in a very deep state of sleep, what you're going to see is that their eyes move from one side to the other very rapidly. That's rapid eye movement. Indicates that person is in a deep state of sleep. If you try to wake them up, it's very difficult because they are disconnected with the external reality. They are really in a deep sleep. It's more likely that it's when they are having dreams as well. And it's more likely that it's when the recovery process of our body, of our cells, is having place. Now, the no REM, which means no rapid eye movement, is also important. But it's a more superficial deep state. It's easier to wake up a person when they are in that state. You are still kind of connected with what is going on around you. That's why if you hear something or you smell something, you can wake up because you are not in that deep level of sleepiness. These 2 processes, roughly speaking, they occur in the following way. The first 2 hours of our sleep is a no REM sleeping process, superficial. Then we have like a period of 4 hours of REM, very deep sleep process. And then we have 2 exit hours, 2 last hours of no REM process, roughly speaking, okay? Because there are variations and there are people that they can go to REM sleep after 30 minutes and then there's people that seems that they have like different sections of these sleep processes. I apologize, there's a helicopter flying very close to my office. But that's roughly speaking the process of this architectural sleeping process. So as you can see, if you don't have the 8 hours, you are not having the complete process And if you don't have the complete process, you are putting in risk your health, your mental health, your physical health, and even your life expectancy. All right, having said that, here you're going to watch two videos with Matthew Walker, which he is like the authority of sleeping, I will say. It's a professor of Berkeley University in California, and he had a book that is called Why Do We Sleep? The first video, it's titled What Happens to Your Body and Brain If You Don't Get Sleep? So you're going to have a more detailed information of what I already said to you. And then the second video, it's 5 tips for falling asleep quicker, according to Matthew Walker, okay? Watch both of them, please. Watch both of them. Have a good understanding of sleeping. Sleeping should be the most important activity of our day. It's not a luxury. It's not what we do when we have time. Our time should be accommodated, distributed around those 8 hours of good sleeping every night, okay? All right. So now we go to the last section, which is the homework, okay? So there's 2 sections of your homework. One is what I have told you so far. I want to see your comments related with the videos that I share with you, the eating video, the physical activity video, and the sleeping videos, the 2 of them, okay? Leave those comments here in the YouTube video, in the comment section of the YouTube video. And the second part of your homework is set some physical goals for yourself. Workout, sleeping pattern, and nutrition. And record their impact on your physical and psychological well-being, and share your goals and results with your professor. The due date is 11/20/21. So you have more time to do it this time. And what I want you is that starting now, set some physical goals in those areas that we mentioned. Use your calendar. What are you going to do tomorrow? Today, you can start today. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow, after tomorrow, and so on? Are you going to change your sleep patterns, your sleep habits? Are you going to start working out? And when I'm talking about working out, you don't need to run a full marathon. It's just taking a walk 20 minutes in the park, okay? Are you going to change your eating behaviors? You put that in your calendar, and then in your paper, you're going to tell me what goals did you set for yourself? When and how did you apply that in your life during the following days? And what was your experience with that? Do you see any positive experience, any positive outcomes, any positive results on that? And that's it. That's your homework, okay? All right. So having said that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen with you because we are all set. All right. So I hope that you enjoyed this lecture. I also hope that you like the videos that I share with you. I'm going to be very happy reading your comments about it and reading your goals, your challenges in those areas. And I hope to see you next week. All right. Have a good one.